Good morning. Today we look at Mark chapter 5, verses 1 through 20. And, yesterday we ended as Jesus and his disciples had gone across this, or were going across the sea in the boat, and Jesus calmed the storm. And much of what we talked about yesterday and today again are very similar to what we've read in Matthew back in chapter 8, and we will read very similar stuff in Luke chapter 8, the parables and in the stilling of the storm and these different things that way. And today we start out with, they came to the other side of the sea and the land, to the country of the Gerasenes. Matthew says to the land of the Gadarenes, G-A-D, and it's a Gerasene, Gadarene, and Luke says Gerasene, same as Mark does. And these lands were very, possibly, just adjacent to each other, or maybe it could have been referring to the very same land, but anyway, there's, if you read Gadarene or Gerasene, don't get worried about it. And maybe some versions of the Bible may say Gadarenes here in Mark. I couldn't tell you that for sure, but the land is very, very much the very same land that they landed upon. It just depends on the person's pronunciation and stuff of the land. But and then in verse 2 it says, and when Jesus stepped out of the boat, immediately this man of the tomb came to him. And again, this is the immediately. I haven't been counting how many times we've encountered that word in Mark's gospel so far, but we will continue to notice it. And I know in my Bible here I've got immediately is basically underlined about every time Mark uses it. But this man that came to Jesus, it tells us about him. It says he lived in the tombs. Nobody could restrain him, even with shackles and chains. This man was possessed by, we're going to say, he's going to say a demon to start with. But then we find out it's a legion, many. But this man is so strong, so powerful. These demons have so much strength and ability that they're breaking the chains, the metal shackles that they would put around this person's wrist and ankles. He would be able to break those and get free. And he ran around, like a wild and crazy man. And so you picture probably one of the most scary people you can imagine, and long dirty hair, naked, and just, a terror to behold. and it says night and day he lived among the tombs and the mountains, and he was howling and bruising himself with stones. And it isn't a pretty picture. It isn't somebody that you want to get close to by any stretch of the imagination. But it goes on for verse 6 finally now. It says, when he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him. This crazy man comes running to Jesus and bows before him. This is, I think, is significant. He bows before him and shouts at the top of his voice, what have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I adjure you by God, do not torment me. Or I beg you, or the word adjure, A-D-J-U-R-E, could be a command. I command you by the name of God, leave me alone. I urge you, I beg you, I strongly advise you. Just leave me alone. The demon says, I'm happy possessing this man and making his life terrible. But what about the poor man? The demon is perfectly content doing what he's doing. But the man, he is just, totally beside himself. He is not himself. But Jesus, it says, for Jesus had said, come out of the man, you unclean spirit. And then Jesus says, what is your name? And the spirit says, my name is Legion, for we are many. But he had no choice but to leave this man. Because as I've said before, the devil, the demons, they are powerless before Jesus. When Jesus commands them, already in Mark's gospel too, we've seen and read that, he cast out many demons from many people and healed many people, and he told all of the demons to be silent. So they don't have a choice. God is more powerful than Satan, and that is something we need to remember all the time, that God is more powerful than Satan. God speaks and Satan, listens, and he has to obey. And so this spirit of legion has come out of this man and begs Jesus, let him to go into the swine. And now you got to remember, pigs, for the Jewish people, pigs are unclean animals. They can't eat them. They're not supposed to herd them or feed them or anything. So in this land of the Gerasenes or Gadarenes, whichever your Bible says, pigs were like sheep or cattle for the Jews. I mean, they were food. They were a means of making a living, and there were men there, men or women. We call them sheep herders. I don't know, what do you call a person that watches over pigs? A pig herder. But there were people there tending to these pigs, and this demon Legion asks to let us go into those pigs. And the word legion, in the Roman army, a legion would be 4,000 to 6,000 men. So if this demon came out of this man and his name was Legion, I mean, this is a tremendously large number of spirit. And it runs into these pigs, and it says on the hillside was a great herd of swine, and the unclean spirits begged, and they went into the swine, entered the swine, and the herd, numbering about 2,000, it says then, ran down the bank and into the sea and drowned themselves. And you think about that's a tremendous loss of life of pigs. And just think of the impact it would have on the people of that land for their food, for their means of livelihood, and for all of that stuff. This was a major disaster for them. But I think Jesus is showing us that, the life of one human being, life of one person, is so much more important to God. Not that creation isn't. I mean, in John 3:16, for God so loved the world, Jesus says, not just loved humankind, and I refer to that every once in a while. But the sanity, the security, the sanctity of this one person was important to Jesus. And it says the swineherds, that's what they call them in the Bible, the swineherds ran off and told it in the city and the country. The people came to see what had happened, and they saw the demoniac sitting there, it says, clothed and in his right mind, and they were afraid. You think about just what's happened here recently. Jesus has been teaching. Jesus calms the wind and the waves. He casts this demon out. I mean, the disciples wonder, well, who is this that has power over the wind and the waves? The people of this country of the Gerasenes wonders, well, who is this Jesus that could cast a demon out of this man, that this man who rants and raves and yells and screams and is terrifying our kids, and this man was possessed by a demon, and he was demonizing the countryside. And all of a sudden, here he is sitting there calm in his right mind, listening and talking with Jesus. And it says they were afraid. They wondered too, well, who is this Jesus? And if he did, what's he going to do to us? This is, they're not sure. And so what do? They beg Jesus to leave. And in some ways I can understand it a little bit, because, he has just caused this, as I said, massive destruction to a herd of 2,000 pigs. That's a tremendous impact. And, what else might Jesus destroy? They're not sure what's going on. So they beg Jesus to leave. And as he's getting ready to go, as he's getting into the boat, this man begs to go with Jesus. He says, you've changed my life. I want to come with you. I want to serve you. I want to be with you. And Jesus said, I've got a more important task for you. Huh? I want you to go and tell the people of your nation, your friends, your neighbors, your family. I want them to go and tell what God has done for you. Go and tell what the Lord has done, what mercy he has shown you. And then it says, the last verse we're going to look at, and he, the demoniac, went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him, and everyone was amazed. Now, the Decapolis, Deca is 10, so the Decapolis is a group of 10 cities in this region that, an economic region that way. It's, like we call Minneapolis, St. Paul, we call the Twin Cities. Well, there's a whole lot more than 2 cities there. But the Decapolis is a group of 10 cities in this area that somewhat work together. They're joined in that description anyway. So this man went around in this area of his home, of his family, of his country, preaching and teaching about Jesus. And, and it says they were all amazed. And so this man was well known as a demoniac. I mean, his stories had been told about him. And now for these people to witness the change in him was important. It was massive. It was what God could do. And there is no better witness than someone someone you trust. A stranger can come in to an area and be saying something, but if something has happened to a person that you personally know, listening to that person's story, listening to that person's testimony, has much more impact. And Jesus knew that. And so Jesus said to this man, I want you to go and tell your family, your friends, your countrymen what God has done for you. And so as you live your life today and every day, let God's love show through you.